Oggi parliamo di Mortal Kombat 11. Ieri è uscito il trailer ufficiale di Mortal Kombat. Adesso ce lo guardiamo. Sbagliato. Un attimo.
Sorcerer. We're in uncharted territory. We've changed this timeline for good.
Let us join the armies massing at the Sea of Blood.
They are unaware of our army's full strength.
We will unleash hell. No new era. Our time for preparation is over.
It has begun!
No jokes, no gimmicks, just combat.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Kill each other.
Wow.
Tell me something. You motherfuckers can't tell me nothing. I'd rather die than to listen to you. My DNA not for imitation. Your DNA an abomination. This how this when you in the matrix. I just put it. Reaping what you're sowing. Stacking up the footage. Living on the go and sleeping in the village. Living from a... Curving on the legs. Rolling from home. I don't understand. I don't compromise. I just get a break. Sex, money, murder. These are the problems. These are the times. Level number 9. Look up in the sky. Tennis on the way. Tennis on the way. Tennis on the way. Motherfucker, I got winners on the way. You ain't shit without a buddy who you blow. You ain't shit without a ticket on your plate.
You should have stayed dead.
So, you ain't rich enough to hit the light. Destruction gonna be my fate. Gonna be your fate. Gonna be our fate. Peace to the world. Let it rotate. Sex, money, murder, idea.
Cease before you doom us all.
Poi, ora parliamo un attimo di Fairy Tail. Per chi fosse interessato al gioco di Fairy Tail, quello è stato purtroppo come possiamo dire, era rilasciato molto più tardi, il 30 giugno in Europa e in Giappone, invece il 30 luglio in Europa e in Giappone e il 31 luglio in Nord America. E l'hanno detto tramite questo avviso. Questo avviso qua. Hanno rilasciato questo avviso per le famiglie. Poi Tony Hawk Pro Skater infatti ha rilasciato questo nuovo trailer con un attimo, Steve Cavalero. Con Steve Cavalero, uno dei pro dello skater.
When the first game came out, I was very interested in it. Fast forward years down the road, I see kids doing the exact same tricks that we were doing with our fingers and thumbs on skateboards. To be in the new video game was very flattering, and I just went out there and just did a bunch of expressions, crazy lights. That was pretty odd. It just opens eyes of new possibilities of what can be done on a skateboard and introducing skateboarding for the next generation.
Da come si può vedere in questo trailer, dietro le quinte a quanto Steve Cavallero aveva fatto parte già prima di Tony Hawk Pro Skater, ma chissà, adesso, e come si è visto, farà parte anche adesso di Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2. Ci provo almeno. Allora, adesso si parla di Mass Effect. Allora, quindi, a quanto pare stanno dicendo, hanno tanti giochi in cartiere, infatti, tra le quali anche Mass Effect Trilogy Remastered. Ora, e secondo alcune descrizioni hanno detto che il remake, infatti che stanno facendo, avrà un sistema di combattimento migliorato, cioè avrà un pochettino le meccaniche di Mass Effect Andromeda, però speriamo che non sia come che avranno quei volti, sennò veramente praticamente inutile con fan. Andiamo. Poi, il remake del primo sarà fatto con il motore grafico Frostbite 3. Anche Mass Effect 2 e Mass Effect 3. Poi, a quanto pare, il remake del primo sarà possibile prenderlo separato dal secondo e terzo episodio. Allora, l'uscita della trilogia, secondo alcuni rumor, dovrebbe uscire l'11 giugno. Sì. Ieri, nel primo pomeriggio, infatti, sia su Spazio Games sia su All Games Delta, siti di notizie, ma anche da altre parti, è arrivato, infatti è uscito il logo di quello che sembra Gran Turismo. Ora, molte persone hanno già subito detto che potrebbe essere il nuovo capitolo di questo, il nuovo capitolo di quello o qualche altra cosa. Però non si sa nulla di certo perché tutti quanti sono subito corsi a capire se era veramente così oppure no, ma a quanto pare non si fa nulla di niente perché purtroppo forse l'immagine era fake o l'immagine era stata rubata e per fare in modo che non si sa nulla di sbagliato hanno già cancellato l'immagine. Cioè, hanno già negato si vede qualsiasi informazione che ha a che fare con Gran Turismo 7, quindi è inutile che andate a correre tutto il resto. Ancora si parla di Batwoman. Allora, il fatto che come sappiamo, non è più Batwoman, Ruby Rose. Ora, qui il fatto è questo. Mo qua si dicono è stata, mo qua dicono, ecco qua, secondo TV Line, infatti secondo TV Line hanno detto che non è stata la sua decisione al 100%, che lei non era contenta di lavorare alle serie e questo lo rendeva una persona piacere con chi lavorare, perciò è stato il migliore interesse che lei se ne andasse, gente non era adatta. Ora, secondo questa intervista hanno detto che Ruby Rose era diventata non piaceva a nessuno e tutto il resto e quindi voglio dire nessuno la voleva più sul set. Ora, io non so se era così oppure no, questa forse è soltanto uno degli altri rumor che si sentono e tutto il resto. Ora, solo perché un attimo, mo su Screen Week TV mostrano dicendo che forse Katie Kane morirà, ma solo perché ha perso il suo volto e tutto il resto non significa che adesso non potrà essere, come possiamo dire, non potrà essere, come possiamo dire, voglio dire, non potrà avere un aspetto completamente differente e forse lei sarà ancora meglio di Ruby Rose, chi lo sa. Mm. Adesso ieri sono uscite le prime immagini della seconda stagione di Doom Patrol. Ecco qua, questa è una. Questa è un'altra con Cyborg e tutto il resto. Ci sto almeno provando. Poi, eccolo qua. Un'altra di queste immagini. Per chi fosse interessato, la seconda stagione di Doom Patrol arriverà il 25 giugno. Allora, secondo un rumor, infatti, secondo un rumor, dicono che Bluepoint sta lavorando al remake di Jack and Dexter e Soul River su PlayStation 5. Non so se è veramente così oppure no, non ci dispiacerebbe, però non si sa se è veramente così. Ed è soltanto un rumore per il momento e quindi chi lo sa se è così oppure no. Allora, ieri verso le 2 di mattino è stato mostrato il nuovo trailer del film di Christopher Nolan, Tenet. Eccolo qua. Adesso ci guardiamo il trailer di Tenet. Wow, favoloso! No, no, fantastico. Il film Tenet è veramente qualcosa di fantastico. Christopher Nolan ha fatto un altro film fantastico, cavolo. Chissà adesso come sarà e come non sarà. Allora, oh, ora, per chi fosse interessato a Valorant, il gioco ufficiale esce il 2 giugno, quindi tra qualche giorno.
Beginnings of a global community of players that we hope to serve for years or maybe even decades to come.
Your excitement for Valorant inspires us every day, and we've been looking forward to sharing this game with everyone.
So I'll get right to it. Earlier this year, when we revealed Valorant, we also announced a very aspirational launch date of summer 2020.
And we've been wanting to get you this game to help brighten these tough times. But as it turns out, we're not going to be launching this game in a few months.
Because we're launching it in a few weeks.
Wow. Allora, poi. Allora, poi parliamo un attimo di Sea of Thieves. Allora, Sea of Thieves a quanto pare si prepara uno sborco su Steam. Andiamo. E arriverà il 3 giugno con il costo di 40 euro. Ovviamente non risulta ancora niente sul sito ufficiale, però andando in un certo sito si può vedere. Ancora niente. No, ho trovato, ci sono nuove informazioni. No, S23 aprile. No, pensavo di aver trovato nuove cose su Course of Death del mare e così. Allora, ieri, ieri c'è stato il Borderlands Show, infatti il Borderlands Show 7, e si è parlato del nuovo DLC, il terzo DLC.
Today, in a very special at-home edition of the Borderlands Show, Fran and I are going to talk about our time with the Revenge of the Cartels event.
But it's not just us, Greg. We got Mitsu back with us talking about Mayhem 2.0 and how that has changed the game.
Well, we're also going to discuss mapping the human gut biome in Borderlands science.
If that wasn't enough, though, we're going to check out the new Takedown. We're going to talk about when that's coming out. You're going to see the first footage that you've seen anywhere right here.
Oh, well, if you like reveals, Gearbox creative director Matt Cox is here to reveal the official title and release date of DLC 3 and give us all those juicy gameplay details.
That's pretty good. I'm going to try to one-up you, though, and we'll see if we can get a tease about DLC 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a textbook case of a humdinger of a show. Don't go anywhere. This is the Borderlands Show. That's right, everybody. It's a brand new episode. So remember, of course, you need to go subscribe. Twitch.tv/Borderlands, YouTube.com/BorderlandsGame. And the show doesn't happen without you. So get your questions and comments in at kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Fran, welcome back to the show once again, Mitsu.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody.
How are you?
It's so good to be here again. I'm glad that I could sit in and be a part of the program.
Well, we're always happy to have you in here, giving us this community. You live Borderlands 3. You're out there in the community. You're doing all your different shows about it. I want to start right there because it seems every time you're on the show, something is happening with Bordercast or Ultimate Vault Hunters. What is the update this time?
So Ultimate Vault Hunters, we're going to talk about that first, is a new show that Liz 55, a previous guest on the Borderlands show, she is hosting it. And the kind of focus of the show is a little bit different. It's all about taking the hardcore builders of the community, your Lazy Data, your K6, your Jolts dude, and having them come on and break down their crazy builds that allow them to do the wildest things at Mayhem 10. Awesome. And it's just a fun breakdown for people to watch and kind of gain a new perspective on how to play the game. As for the Bordercast, Tess and I had a little bit of a conversation. We decided we wanted to give Liz our slot at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, on Thursdays, and now the Bordercast is moving to Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So we've kind of had a bit of a schedule change, but we're thinking that it's going to long-term work out for the best for everybody.
That's right. And of course, the big thing for all the Borderlands shows, both Ultimate Vault Hunters and Bordercast, and our own, the Borderlands show that you're watching right now, we officially, everybody, have an audio podcast feed. So all the Borderlands shows you could possibly want are going up as podcasts on all the podcast services you'd be used to. So you can get them and subscribe to them and like them. Just one feed to rule them all, packed with all the Borderlands shows you want. Fran, I think this has been the number one thing we've heard is feedback from people who like the show.
Yep, I'm super excited to be able to listen to it anywhere now. So
exactly. More housekeeping for you, of course, before we get into the thing, reveal DLC 3, talk about the future, a whole bunch of cool stuff's happening. Revenge of the Cartels, the event is still going on, of course. It wraps up, though, June 4th, which is coming up quickly. So you need to get in there and start earning those rewards. We're going to talk your ear off when we get to what you've been playing, because, of course, we've been playing Revenge of the Cartels. But it's not even that. It's crazy that we want to talk about that. But since we last did the Borderlands show, which again, ladies and gentlemen, Fran and I were hired to do the Borderlands show to break the news about Borderlands to you. Then I wake up in the morning and turn to open my email and I find all this Borderlands news breaking. It's been a bunch of surprises. Borderlands science has been killing it. Fran, have you gone and done some of the Borderlands science stuff?
Yeah, it's really cool. Teaming up for the good of actual humanity, but bringing a cool puzzle game into it, and you can get rewards, right?
Exactly.
Spend time in there, so
yeah, we don't want to talk ear off. We assume you've done Borderlands Science. Of course, it's a game. You go inside, go to Tannis's workshop. You go there. There's a little arcade cabinet. You go through. You match some things. You do some stuff, and guess what? You're connecting the missing parts of the gut bacteria to then figure out the poop stuff. So you're helping actually scientific. You're getting rewards. And you're helping
figuring out
that's what I know.
Let's be real with people.
But more importantly for me, at least, you're getting the XP bonuses. You're getting all sorts of stuff at the end too. You can spend your money on that you make in this little guy. But Gearbox put out a press release even since that. So Borderlands Science is out. You can get it right now. Play it for free inside Borderlands 3. On top of that, there's this news: Borderlands Science, a mini game within Gearbox Software and 2K's best-selling, critically acclaimed video game Borderlands 3 that contributes to real-world biomedical studies, has seen players solve 36 million puzzles with more than 700,000 individual players from the larger Borderlands 3 community, solving an average of 1.2 million puzzles per day since the program launched on April 7th. Borderlands Science continues to grow, with nearly 250,000 new players joining within the last 2 weeks. That is insane. Overall, players dedicated more than 86 total years of playtime to mapping the human gut microbiome. Mitsu, did you know this was coming? And then how often are you using it?
It's I didn't know it was coming, but I'm really glad that it did. I always love games in games. So this was a cool little addition to have it. Like GTA kind of has that. Other video games have it where you can play old school video games, and this of course very stylized after old school puzzle games. You can earn in-game rewards, like you said, and you can get sweet loot drops from it. You're helping contribute to science, and you're playing a cool puzzle game. And then when you're done with it, then you get to get some really cool loot.
Yeah. If for some reason you haven't done it, I did it, first day it dropped, I spent my evening going through and getting to the max level and going through and beating all the different bosses you had on the ladder. And you get so much of the in-game currency to spend on it. I will never not be playing under double XP again. It's just always there. I don't need to worry about it. I think it's maybe actually 25% boost in XP, but the XP is there.
Still I think Mitsu was talking about you can drink a tall, cool glass of Butt Stallion milk and get increased loot drops. Was that one?
Yeah.
Yes. It's pretty cool.
It's really cool.
Also, when your parents come over and try to bother you, what are you doing playing all these video games? And then you're like, I'm doing science.
Mom, it's for science.
I mean, I'm an adult, Greg, but there's
you're an adult. What you're still gonna? I'm sure your parents still come over once in a while. What are you doing with your life, Francis?
It's true.
What are you doing with your life in this dark room with your?
I'm
your
doing
LED?
science.
And the other surprise, since we last talked to you on the Borderlands show, ladies and gentlemen, the Borderlands Legendary Collection is coming to Nintendo Switch May 29th. It has Borderlands Game of the Year Edition, Borderlands 2, and Borderlands the pre-sequel. Mitsu, that's a hell of a package.
Yeah, it's so cool. The last time that we ever saw Borderlands on a portable device was back with the Vita with Borderlands 2. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I do. Fran, I'm sorry. Borderlands 2 on the PlayStation Vita. Who made that happen? Who got credit?
I mean,
about that?
Do you know anybody, Greg, who could
maybe it was me, Greg Miller,
could bring two companies like that together?
It's me. That's what I do out there. I bridge the gap. All right. I make sure Vitas are getting into the hands of everyone out there.
It's so good to see that it's on the Switch. I can play Borderlands in my bed. I can relive the story of Borderlands 2, play the pre-sequel, Athena. I love throwing shields. It's going to be so much fun.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's awesome to see that open up for a brand new audience, right? There's so many people that it came into games again with the Switch, and now to have all these great Borderlands games there, that's dynamite. But
not any better time for it too. Switch is selling 55 million units now.
It's doing pretty well. You know what I mean?
Right.
They don't need our plugs.
Exactly.
But it's time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to talk to you about what we've been playing.
What we've been playing.
All right, guys, it's time to talk about what we've been playing in Borderlands 3. And I think, obviously, the lead story is Revenge of the Cartels. Fran, Mitsu, how much fun is this?
Oh, my God. It's everything I could have possibly hoped for and more. This is like Bloody Harvest was great. This is unreal. People are saying on Twitter, I think Killer 6 specifically, but a lot of people have said this and echoed that sentiment, that they want this as content permanently. They would pay for this content to be permanent.
Yeah, I agree with it. And going through, what I love about these events layered on top of what you're already doing in Borderlands is, of course, it gives you another reason to play, another angle to take on it, and more rewards to get. And I think getting to go to, Villa Ultraviolet, right, and have that soundtrack kick in and have these piles of iridium dust and have it be this Scarface mansion is so much fun to run through and fight, right, Fran?
So I can't hear you guys. I was jamming out to the synthwave in Revenge of the Cartels, and I just totally lost track of time. Seriously, that was my big thing for sure. The music is so cool. I keep saying this about the content that they're releasing, but they're doing such a great job with the music. But legitimately, this is the type of music I listen to when I stream. And no joke, I was streaming playing Revenge of the Cartels, and I was like, wait, I left my music on. And I was like, wait, it's the game. And it's like pumped up and jamming. So number one, I just the vibe, like you're saying, was so cool, and they really delivered on that. But the event is fun. Yeah, the way that it makes up the characters, the enemies, that is, the cartels. So I just thought they did a great job, and I agree with Mitsu. I hope that, as much as I like limited time stuff too, hopefully they ought to bring it back sooner than later, because it's really cool.
Yeah, it feels like a little DLC to itself. Honestly, it's that engrossing.
Yeah, picking up Dakota rings, going out there. Every time I get to fight Joey, right? Get down in there and get it's just fun. And I know it's like the weirdest thing, a way to describe it, but I like it. I still get excited every time I get to go back.
Video games are fun. What a shocker.
Video games are cool. That's a t-shirt. You get it at kindoffunny.com/store. Roger put it in the frame right now. So Revenge of the Cartels, something that's awesome. It's still going on. June 4th, however, is when it ends. That's coming up soon. That's going to be an important date, but I'll talk about that in a second. Because the other part of this whole thing of what we've been playing since the last Borderlands show is also Mayhem 2.0 has dropped. And so whenever we do this show, there's the varying, levels and scales of how much we've all played. For me with Mayhem 2.0, I am too much of a coward to go beyond Mayhem 3.0. Because that is like the right balance of when I want to go in there, test my build, test my metal, how can I hang? But then also I don't mind just dialing it down and having fun. How has it been for both of you guys?
Yeah, I was gonna say, just at a base, like, it's awesome that Mayhem is now revamped. So that's the reminder if you haven't jumped back in. But like, the old Mayhem is gone, and now in menu, you don't have to go back to Sanctuary. You literally just apply your new level. It'll reload the latest checkpoint. That alone, I love. I love to be able to, in real time, pretty much, be able to adjust the level that I'm playing at. Because I definitely lean a bit more into, I want to make sure it's still fun. I'm still working on my build. So I just love that you're able to do that, and that they actually do have 10 gradients. At first, I was like, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And to be able to re-roll your modifiers as well, like, it's super fast and intuitive. So I really like the way they've changed the system just at a base. And then, it's made the game more fun, because like, so I might get to a boss, for example, and I'll turn it up until like I run into trouble. Yeah. And again, to be able to do that really easily has just brought more enjoyment to the game. So I really like,
because having to go back to Sanctuary before was no good, and so having it there, like you're saying, that you can go in there and you can test yourself, or I'll find that's how I settled on 3, right? Is that I'll be playing and be struggling, like, I gotta come back down,
because it's more accessible. It legitimately has changed the gameplay for me, because like I can just play around with it, where before it's asking me too much to go back to Sanctuary. So the game has been made more enjoyable actually through the core system. Granted, there's probably getting into the detail of like, which of these roles on Mayhem do I like, which things do I like in here more or less, but like at a base, I really like the system.
Mitsu, how's it been for you?
It's been wonderful. So I'm a little bit of a scaredy pants. I love playing on Mayhem 10, or like challenging myself as much as possible. But I still haven't. It happens. I play Borderlands. So when it comes to looking at Mayhem 10, I'm not there yet. I'm not comfortable. I'm not killing things fast enough. So what I did is I dialed it back a little bit, and I'm hanging out at Mayhem 6. And is it still a challenge? Yes, but I'm comfortably killing things. I'm enjoying hanging out with my friends and playing it. We've done tons of like the runs through Revenge of the Cartels, so that's always been enjoyable. It feels in a great place, and I love the modifiers. No more bullet reflection. Thank God. Thank you, Gearbox. Thank you so much. I cannot emphasize that enough. That is the biggest change ever. You never have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And then going from there, I've enjoyed the scaling so far. I feel comfortable. Weapons still feel powerful, and I'm playing the way I want to play. I know Mayhem 10, it gets a little bit more dicey, but that's why I kind of scaled it back, and I'm enjoying my playway. Yeah, it's supposed to be that way. It's supposed to challenge you. This is the pinnacle of Borderlands 3 play.
Yeah.
Now, sorry, go ahead, friend.
No, just the other thing in the system that they changed here, right, is that the fact you get Mayhem level drops remember when we talked about that on the show, I think for the first time, and I was like, wait, so this isn't just like a level 57 gun at that point. You now can get a Mayhem 3 leveled gun, you know, that you got out of that level. And so anyway, I just like what they've done there because it gives more chase to that. That being said, of course, as Borderlands players, we're going to want to get Mayhem 10. And I think it brings up the question, you know, is that balance right? So we can all actually do it. Do you have to play it with teams or single player? I have not really done it because I've been, more comfortable, like right in the middle where I'm at and still trying to get the drops and build up. But I do love that you can get some really powerful guns. And also, to be fair, if you have friends and they send you a Mayhem 10 gun, that also you can start wrecking shop with some of those gifted items from friends, which is cool.
Maybe you should come to PlayStation 4, start sending me some Mayhem 10 guns.
Yeah, I'll send you it.
Help me out a little bit, Fran, over here. There have been some issues with Mayhem 2.0, and that's why Gearbox sent along this message.
Hey everyone, it's Graham with the Borderlands 3 live team. Before we talk about Mayhem, I first want to say thank you to our entire community for all of the help and all the feedback you've given us these last few weeks as you've started to experiment with Mayhem. So thank you so much for all of your help. So in case you missed it, last week on Borderlands.com, we posted a blog that went over some of the changes that we'd like to make with Mayhem. Today, I'd like to review some of those highlights with everyone and make sure everyone's up to speed. So phase one of these changes comes with the Guardian Takedown. In it, we're focusing on Mayhem stat scaling changes and some gear adjustments. So in Mayhem's level 7 and higher, you're going to see the health, shield, and armor stats for the highest levels of Mayhem pulled down. At that same time, we're going to take a look at some over and underperforming gear and make some adjustments there as well. Also, you'll start seeing Mayhem level identifiers on the item cards for all your Mayhem level weapons. Phase 2 comes with DLC 3, and in it, we're going to focus on character build diversity. The big change is non-weapon sources of damage will start scaling relative to the Mayhem level you're in. So action skill damage, melee, slide, slam, they're all going to start scaling relative to that level. Also, grenade mods will start dropping as Mayhem gear, just like Mayhem weapons. And finally, all sources of loot in the game will start dropping Mayhem level gear. So those are just a few of the changes that we've got in store. If you want more information, head to Borderlands.com and read the rest of the post. And again, thank you so much for your feedback and keep it coming.
Okay, so that's what we've been playing at home, guys, but we actually just got our first look at the new Takedown. You ready to talk about it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, here it is. First look.
First look.
That's right. The next Takedown is officially Takedown at the Guardian Breach. We've all been playing it. Mitsu, I'm going straight to you. Ooh. What's your take?
It's nice to see that they are not resting their laurels. This is completely different from what we experienced in Maliwan Takedown in the best ways possible. And from what I could tell, it's not just about all of the new secret things that we probably shouldn't quite talk about yet because there's new enemies and new other things. But
more than that, there's puzzles. There's like these like things you have to do, right, to advance and go through. It almost feels like a raid. And I know that's always been the thing with Takedown, but hey.
There's a few light platforming things. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. I imagine most people won't, but they're there. So you'll have to keep that in mind. But the new enemies are amazing. They have taken strides in making new mechanics happen for these fights. And it feels like they're going to try and further the story of Borderlands through it. And that's what's really most exciting to me because the Guardians have been lying dormant for a long time. I want to see why they have suddenly burst forth onto the scene.
And that's the thing, of course, right? Like Tanis sends us over to Minos Prime. We get there, we find a world just shattered from within, right? Everything's floating there. You start as soon as we started, and it was like that, not 0G, but lesser gravity. You know what I mean? Where I could jump higher and longer, and I was like, oh man, this is giving me pre-sequel vibes. Like I'm back. You know what I mean? And they got jump pads in there, and it was very much like, oh, like you're talking about. This is still Borderlands, but it's taking it in a different direction. It's adding something new. It's also giving us this mystery of what's happening. Fran, I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I love that they're it's free content as well, right? And it comes out June 4th. Did we say that yet?
We didn't yet. You just announced the release date, Fran. June 4th, everybody. That is the real release date for Takedown at the Guardian Breach. Again, it coincides with the end of Revenge of the Cartels. It's a real release date, June 4th.
Jump the gun on that one. A little excited, but
no, it's the Borderlands show. We're hanging out. We're having fun.
But the fact that like Mitsu was getting into it, it's got the story, it's got the looks, it's such a cool looking location. and all these new enemies coming at you. And it is fierce. And I was just going to say, remember that takedowns are really more intended to be a raid, and ideally, I think co-op, right? They did introduce solo takedowns, and we'll probably see, the same thing here. But man, it's tough, but it's cool that they're doing things like, you have puzzles now where people will have to split off and take care of one thing while you're doing other stuff. And so I'm really excited to see how the community gets in and starts optimizing their run-throughs of this.
Maybe most of you, but Zane shenanigans definitely saved me more than once during that run.
Yeah.
That's all I'm going to say. Oh, yeah. I did some trading places. It was fun.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
When you have
left
a
a clone behind,
so, you know what I mean? When you have a pet as good as I do with Flack, you don't need to worry about this chicanery, all right? This weird magic Zane pulling, all right? You don't need that. Flack's out there. You got your skag, you're set to go, you're ready to get into it. So yeah, this is a difficult one to talk about because I don't want to spoil too much because it is the reveals of it, right? But I appreciated, like, even in the opening areas, right? Figuring out how to open these doors. There's a platforming puzzle like you were talking about, Mitzi, right? That calls in a bit of what I'm talking about with less gravity. And I don't even know that's how you call it. Fewer gravity? I'm kidding. That's also not correct. But then getting down there and charging up some crystals and, Fran, you hit the nail on the head. Like, the game, as it should in a takedown, isn't pulling punches. Like, they're hitting hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be something, you want to really get in with friends and optimize your run through. And yeah, I mean, I love that. That's what takedowns are supposed to be. And again, they sort of talk about it as their version of a raid. And you're definitely feeling it. But yeah, I can, like Mitsu was getting as well, I can feel the evolution of ideas happening here. Like we saw what they did with Maliwan. And now for sure, they're bringing so much together. It really is, we're watching in these free events the advancement of a team that spent all these years bringing together ideas, reinventing Borderlands, but you could see it really coming together now, and they're putting everything into each of the new DLCs and now the takedown. So I'm loving what I'm seeing. I love the color palette as well of Minos Prime.
Of course, it's gonna have a bunch of cosmetics for you to pick up, echo skins, player skins. What were you gonna say, Francis?
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, and Greg, I know you love your cosmetics.
Oh no! When I get to run a show and stuff, and I'm like, I get to look. I'm like, where's loot? All right, cool. Yeah. Bad Astra player skin. Got it. That's what I want. Cosmic communicator echo skin. All right, I'll be all about it. New room decorations. I'm stoked. I'm excited. Yeah. One of the things we've talked about before, and I assume you'll be excited for, Mitsu, again, the hardcore audience is gonna be excited for, is this quality of life change, right? For the revive system rework. Have you seen this? Of course, larger interact radius, so you'll be able to get in there. Players aren't able to move as quickly, so you can't, as it happens. And I love her to death. Whenever I'm trying to revive my wife, but she's also trying to get second wind, and I'm like trying to do it, and she crawls away. I'm like, no, come back here. What are you doing? Getting right
does the exact same thing. No, I get it. It's good because they're slowing things down a little bit. My only concern is if you're playing with the floor is lava, the floor still opens up if you're trying to revive somebody, so you have to keep moving around while you're trying to pick them up. That's the only time I could see this being a bad thing. Every time else, this is an amazing change.
You re-roll your mayhem then. I mean,
yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah.
But yeah, no, at a base, it's something from the beginning. I think we all felt they talked about it. It's like, it was a little tricky to do revives, and now team reviving, as well as just, there's a larger box in terms of like, oh, I'm picking you up. It shouldn't be as difficult as it was. So
Mitsu,
this will help a lot.
One question for you, as somebody who obviously has these shows in your ear to the community, the hardest of hardcore is the highest level of streamers, because of course Fran's a clown.
Whoa, jeez. We're both Zane gang. Okay, if you think you're gonna separate us, Greg,
I'm gonna get between you. I'll flack my way in there. What has it been in terms of the legs for the first takedown, Malawan takedown, right? And are people still playing that as aggressively as they were at launch? I know they changed it and got the scaling difficulties in there. And then what do you think you'll see from this one then in terms of people sticking around?
I feel like a lot of players are currently still playing it. I myself still play it every now and again. It's kind of how I end some of my streams. Just go in there, do a takedown for 30, 45 minutes towards the end, just to run through with whatever I got over the course of the day and see how that measures up with, is it good, is it bad? I feel like a lot of players can use that as a benchmark challenge towards the end of whatever they might be doing for the day for the same principle. Now, we have Revenge of the Cartels going on right now, as you know, so maybe that's lessened a little bit. But I feel that Maliwan Takedown will definitely stand the test of time because it is an enjoyable experience.
Yeah,
people, it's a takedown. There's an invincible at the end. One of the things I loved in Borderlands 2 was killing invincibles. So of course I'm going to be out there and doing it. And I think a lot of players will as well.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can find out for yourself what you think of Takedown at the Guardian Breach on June 4th. Again, same day Revenge of the Cartels ends. You can get in there and get into the new Takedown. Let folks know what you want. You can be sad about one, happy about the other. Fran, Gearbox never closes a door without opening a window. You know.
What a segue, Greg.
Thank you. Speaking of segues, Greg Way, are you excited about DLC 3? I am. What do I know about DLC 3? Literally next to nothing. I have to keep calling it DLC 3, which I really don't like. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, from Borderlands 3, he is the game director on DLC 3. It's Matt Cox. Ladies and gentlemen, game director of the DLC 3 for Borderlands 3, it's Matt Cox.
Yay!
Hey, everybody.
Yay. Hey, Matt, how are you?
Doing wonderful. I'm honestly incredibly excited for our entire team to finally get DLC 3 out so people can enjoy it.
And here's the question number one for the show. Now that you're here, can we stop calling it DLC 3? Does it have a name?
Why not? Sure. Yes, it does have a name. DLC 3 is Bounty of Blood, a Fistful of Redemption.
Ooh,
Wow.
Okay. Fran, did that pique your interest? Did I get you ready to go?
Oh, yeah. I'm a huge fan of like the Western vibe. And so
Yeah.
I love that it's not just a fistful of redemption. It's a bounty of blood, a fistful of redemption.
Yeah.
It sounds good to me.
Leaves no doubt.
Exactly. Matt, so what's the nutshell of this? What is DLC 3? I'm sorry, it's still in me. I gotta get a DLC 3. What's Bounty of Blood all about?
Bounty of Blood, it's a harsh story of revenge and redemption. I mean, put simply, the Vault Hunter arrives on the brutal frontier planet of Gehenna in hopes of collecting the sheriff's bounty on the Devil Riders. Now, the Devil Riders are a violent gang of beast-riding mercenaries, and you're going to team up with tough-as-hell locals to protect and help the town of Vestige. And help Vestige get back on their feet. And then you take the fight straight to the Devil Riders using new gameplay objects that we have in the DLC and the added Jet Beast vehicle in a gritty tale told by an unseen narrator.
Wow. Okay, so you're not going small this time around.
Yeah, there's a lot there to unpack for sure.
Fran, where do you want to start?
Yeah, man, when I hear that, I'm always looking at the history of how games evolve and Borderlands has evolved. And I'm hearing for sure, right? New planet and new town and new enemies.
Yeah, absolutely.
The pace that's been set lately.
Yeah, we wanted to try several new things for a DLC. Like DLCs are a perfect place for us to kind of push things in different directions and small different directions for the Borderlands universe. So we definitely have a good handful of that for this DLC.
I like that you guys are finally like straying away a little bit from the beaten path. We've dealt with Moxie now. We have dealt with Handsome Jack kinda in like a post-mortem frame. And we've dealt with Wainwright and Jacobs and kind of had their story. Now it seems like you guys are going into this new territory. And I'm kind of excited to see exactly what it looks like, how it feels, and how it gets to play.
Yeah, one of the things that excites me the most is being able to introduce a completely new cast of characters to the Borderlands universe. So outside of the BO3 Vault Hunters themselves, Bounty of Blood has an entirely new cast of characters. So again, we really wanted to try something new, and these characters are all toughened up by having to survive on this brutal frontier planet. So you can expect a lot of outlaw and cowboy inspirations for sure.
Well, hold on. There's again a lot to unpack. I'm insulted Fran and Mitsu that he talks about jet beasts, and Fran's like, new planet. That's cool. What? Tell me about
I
a
was
jet
getting
beast.
there.
No, sure you were. Get out of here, Fran. Kevin mute him. Well, tell me, Matt, what is a jet beast all about?
Well, at the very beginning, when we were, in blue sky of trying to figure out what this DLC was going to be, and we're like, yes, definitely go Western. Every Western needs its horse, right? But for the Vault Hunter, it's a jet beast, which is half jet bike and half creature that can rain serious destruction on the frontier with a dual machine gun, or you can get a mortar weapon. But it really adds a fresh, different dynamic to being on a mount, like combat on a mount. But the Devil Riders themselves do ride the experimental Saurians that you can fight. But for the Vault Hunter, they ride this pretty badass jet beast.
So what you're trying to sell me on is you're letting me ride a cyborg dinosaur. That's what you're telling me right now.
It's like a jet beast, or a jet. Not like it is the jet beast. No, it's like a jet bike with a beast head. Words.
Does that now? So I'm getting to a very specific question here. Is that the jet beast only going to be locked to this third DLC, or can I then take it back into and use it any of the catch rides?
The jet beast is only on Bounty of Blood. And actually, at the catch rides in Bounty of Blood, it's the only vehicle that spawns. So we wanted to make sure it was a tailored Western experience for this DLC.
Okay. Now we've talked about branching out, and obviously how the last two DLCs have piggybacked off of things we already knew, characters we already knew. Talk to me a little bit more specifically about the new characters that are going to be in Bounty of Blood.
Well, the two main characters that anchor the DLC are Juno and Rose. Juno is this rough and tumble brawler with a very checkered past, but she's reformed her way, and now she lives on the outskirts of town. Many in Vestige still don't trust her, and she'll have to prove herself by helping us take down the Devil Rider gang.
Okay.
And then you have Rose, who is the first character that we meet in the DLC. She is our guide, she is our ally, and she helps us learn the lay of the land and helps us fight and find our way into town. And Rose's family has been on Gehenna for generations.
Now, as we see her here in the B-roll and the concept art and all the stuff you guys have for her, she doesn't look like the typical Western character I would be expecting, with cowboy hats and a bunch of chew in her lip. What's her story?
Well, the world of Gehenna in and of itself is beautiful. So you're going to find a wide variety of inspirations that we had creating this DLC from Westerns all over the world, anywhere from like 13 Assassins to 310 to Yuma, 7 Samurai, all the way to the good, the bad, and the ugly. So you'll see all sorts of Western influences, not only in the architecture and in the enemy design, but even the music itself. One of the things I'm incredibly proud of in this DLC is we took the music in a different direction than I think people are used to in Borderlands as well.
Well, that's something I know. Whenever Mitsu and I get together and talk about Borderlands, music, it seems like, is the one that always comes up, right, Mitz? Every time we talk about these DLCs.
Absolutely. In Revenge of the Cartels, they had that decided 80s, Scarface theme to this. And then Matt, you just mentioned The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. One of my favorite songs of all time is the Ecstasy of Gold, rather. And the premise that there might be some sort of remix or influences in the new tracks, that got me really excited all of a sudden.
Yeah, again, our music team, our whole audio team always does a phenomenal job from sound to music. And so there's a wide variety of amazing new things for people to hear. I can't wait.
Now, as you talk about all these Western movies and taking influence from them, right? When I think of a Western, whether it be The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, whether it be Back to the Future 3, I think the town is always a character unto itself, right?
Yep.
So, like, how does Vestige play into this in terms of what it is for DLC 3?
I wanted to think of the town as a character in and of itself. And so I wanted the players to have agency over things that happen. So whatever the player decides to do, they come back to town and something subtle changed or something big has changed. For instance, you free a prisoner early on in the story, and that prisoner happens to be a musician that decides to write a song about the they call them bounty hunters, but writes a song about the vault hunter. So he goes back to the saloon and he starts playing a song. So you can go in the saloon and he's starting to sing a song about the mission you just completed. But every plot mission that you complete, he updates the song.
Oh, that's
so
awesome.
Eventually you have this entire song written about what the player has done. Another one, we have a theater in the town, and we have a challenge. Like, we have kind of our crew challenges that we had in Borderlands 3. There's one that's called that's basically a creature feature. So you find these lost film reels all throughout all the maps, and every film reel that you find, you can walk into the theater, and that film reel will play. And if you collect all of them, you get to watch an entire movie inside the theater.
Wow.
So. And other things too. I mean, there's lots of examples, but storefronts will be kind of dilapidated a little bit, but then reopen depending on what you do in side missions or challenges. NPCs that come back to town, their roles will change depending on choices that you made, like a choice that you made in a side mission. So it's that sort of stuff.
That's
this is awesome. This is like a living and breathing you're not, there's nothing static about it at all. You're constantly building this new town the way you want it to be fit, right?
Yeah, it's not really in like a SimCity Animal Crossing thing where a building didn't exist, right? But if you pay attention to the subtleties and some of the silhouettes of things that change, I just want players to feel like they're not only just playing the tried and tested Borderlands loop that they love, but they're actually making a difference on the town that they're saving. So by the end of the DLC, you feel like that you're the hero, that you made the change.
You want the changes to have meaning to them, like, Reese's mustache, but blown up in, big scale.
Yes. We just want to put just giant mustaches on every building, and we have a DLC everybody wants.
Every decision, somehow pertains to a mustache. That's how you guys went with this one.
I mean, speaking of all this, like, vibe and customization around the Western side, can we expect, like, it's not even in our run of show here, I don't think, but the skins, everything to go with this Western vibe? Have you guys put, a lot of thought into that?
Yeah, we have a bunch of loot that obviously that we've created for DLC 3, special weapons, gear, and skins that you can find out in the world for sure. So all the loot that people love to find and grind for, there's going to be a lot of great stuff for you to find for sure.
Got to imagine a lot of stick shooters.
There might be
a lot of duels.
A pistol. I don't know. But our gear team did a great job making a lot of new legendaries for everybody to find that aren't just pistols, I promise.
The one thing you talked about at the top that we haven't gotten back to that I want to know more about is how does this narrator work? The narrator is not the same as the person I assume singing about me changing everything. So is Marcus mad that he's been replaced?
We don't talk about that. Okay. But the narrator is essentially a new character. The narrator, he'll be alongside you during the entire DLC. So main missions, side missions, providing commentary, story, and maybe the occasional conversation to the player. It's really great. It's something that I think makes it a very unique DLC, particularly to the Borderlands universe.
So the narrator is actually a character with you. It's not just some disembodied voice talking to me, the player. It's me. It's with my vault.
Audio. The narrator is just audio. You will not see him. You will not see him visually.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can already hear Zane having like a drunken conversation with the narrator and thinking it's just a voice in his head.
That sounds really cool.
Yeah, we thought we'd try. That's just one of those little things that we'd try to bring new to Borderlands, and so we're really proud of how it turned out.
Is it
Go ahead,
I was just going to say, is it sort of in a way that, in a lot of Borderlands, Clap's there talking to you, or a character like that very often is next to you talking? Is it sort of replace, in a way, the driving forward dialogue that you get from those characters? Like, is this narrator going to be talking about objectives and things to do? And
the narrator talked about a wide variety of things, whether it might be specifically about an objective or context to world building and story building. And it really adds a lot of flavor to what Gehenna is.
Cool.
And then the final thing that you mentioned earlier that we haven't gotten back to is these interactive objects.
Oh, yeah.
What is that all about? I'm assuming that's more world building, like you're saying, it's a different kind of environment.
Yeah, we know Borderlands has such a unique and one-of-a-kind gun loop, and we love the combat loop of Borderlands, but we also wanted to create new gameplay objects that you find in the world that you unlock by doing certain missions. So we have something called a trader weed, which turns enemies to your side for a certain amount of time. Eventually, you'll find a core exploder. Core exploder shotguns out like high damage shrapnel when you melee it. And then there's a breezer that when you step on it, it's a plant that soars you into the air. And we even have something called a telezapper that is essentially a teleporter. So we wanted to toss these new gameplay objects into the Borderlands mix, and maybe you can find some secrets with a combination of these objects.
What are we talking about in terms of amount of content versus the other ones? Because what I noticed for sure was, I was actually surprised with the amount of content in DLC 1, bringing us back to, kind of the vibe with Handsome Jack. But it had some older enemies, let's call it. But it was still great, by the way. But then I noticed in 2, man, you guys amped up tons of just new enemies and just the style, right? And DLC 2 for me, I'm pretty sure was longer than DLC 1. So how does it compare, to the first 2 DLCs?
I think people will feel incredibly fulfilled with the amount of content that's in DLC 3. I'm not exactly sure, honestly, at this moment, like what the final hour count is today, but there's plenty to do, and it's incredibly exciting. You could spend a lot of time exploring the frontier and all of these other maps with some of these secret challenges, and there's a treasure map challenge that you can kind of use these objects Metroidvania style. It's like, so I do this to do that to go find this. So I think there's some unique ways to sink some time into this DLC, but we definitely have new enemies as well. Yeah, we have Devil Riders using gyrocopters. They're called bolters, so it's a new flying enemy. We have an incredibly weird creature called a Bellic that you'll come across. That's brand new to, to Borderlands, as well as of course the Devil Riders riding the experimented on Saurians as well, Dino Riders, if you will.
I get
That's
it.
so cool.
I get it, everybody. Dino Riders. Matt, most important question.
Yeah.
When does Bounty of Blood come out?
Bounty of Blood will be out on June 25th.
Oh, yes. Right around the corner, Fran.
Yeah, very soon.
Now, this summer.
Matt, this is when we pass it off and go to the mailbag. And the fans of the Borderlands show write into kindafunny.com/Borderlands, ask you questions, yada, yada, yada. Before I even do that, I know you just talked about Bounty of Blood. You just revealed DLC 3. I still got to know, what about DLC 4? What have you done for me lately? All right, sure, this one's coming June, not that far, a whole bunch of content. What about beyond that?
I can't tell you any specifics about DLC 4 right now, but I know we did bring an image, so we can show everybody this image.
Oh, look at this.
Ooh, wow.
Got a Psycho, got some blue, you got some pink going on in the car.
Colors. We promise colors.
You promise colors. That's as much as we're going to get out of you?
Wow.
That's as much you're saying there's colors in this.
There will be gameplay and audio and visuals.
All right, good enough. Thank you, Matt. It is time, of course, to turn you over to the audience who will tear you to shreds. It's the mailbag.
Excellent.
Mailbag.
All right, Matt, bit of a different mailbag for you. Of course, a whole bunch of people, they all wrote into kindafunny.com/Borderlands giving us all sorts of questions, but they were incredibly nitty gritty about very specific game mechanics. And you've been head down working on your DLC, correct?
That's correct.
So what I want to talk about with you is, what were you doing before DLC 3, before you were the director of Bounty of Blood? What were you doing at Gearbox on Borderlands 3?
Yeah, Borderlands 3, I was the lead boss designer, so I got to design and work on all 4 of the Vault boss fights,
nice.
as well as NPC stuff, but man, designing bosses was a ton of fun.
So yeah, talk to me about that. How did you come at tackling these giant monsters, right?
Well, I wanted to have 4 tentpole fights that felt a little different. So you had, Rampager, then you had the Grave Ward just like pulling out of an island for like the big boss fight, but then Troy was sort of a dance. Like I wanted the Troy fight to feel huge, but it's not a huge actual, mesh or an actual mesh. Whatever, a huge actual person. He's mostly life size, and then wanted to go full out creature for the final boss fight. So I wanted them all to have their own sort of identity for sure.
And so when you're doing that, do you have just a blank check from the team? Like, how does that work in something as collaborative as game making to sit there and design these boss fights?
I mean, a little bit. Like, you can't stray too far from the Borderlands loop, but they are truly unique creatures that don't necessarily have an enemy class. So you do kind of have a blank check within technical limitations. So no, it was an incredible sandbox, and I felt like a kid trying to come up with some cool stuff for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I personally love bosses in Borderlands. Seemed like you increased the focus on them. Are you feeling good about bosses as a part of Borderlands going forward?
I thought our entire team, from audio, animation, art, and our designers, like we had a ton of people work on different types of bosses. I really feel like we delivered a great set of bosses all across the board for a Borderlands game for sure.
They're all like really well designed. Grave Ward especially is a personal favorite, going back and killing them all the time. But I struggle so much with Tyreen. I don't know why. She just, for some reason, I don't have the accuracy that, like, my friend Liz, she's a Deadeye. Like, she will always nail the weak spots without having to do anything. Help me out here. Is there anything you can do that can, like, give me an edge over Tyrene? Because she whoops me sometimes, and I get sad.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody has really figured this out. Like, there was a period of time, like 2 months after it came out, I was like on YouTube. I'm like, all right, people have had to have found this like hidden mechanic, but I've never seen it. Anyway, so there's the Iridian rock formations. You know, when you get the resonator, you can melee like the Iridian rocks, right? Because they have like the purple crystals. You find them around. So one of her meteors that she throws at you, like that she throws at you a lot, is made up of those same Iridian crystal chunks. So I'm like, surely as it's coming to them, people are going to think to melee it right back. So I was very inspired by a classic Zelda fight, so where you could just melee that huge meteor right back to Tyrene, and it staggers her. And so like her face, pours out of her weird chest cavity thing. So I figured people might pick up on it, but I didn't do my job well enough, and I don't think people. It was such a frantic fight. They were just like, "Oh my god!" And so they weren't just like, "Oh, look at that thing." And I remember I can melee those shapes of things.
Wow!
So
I can't wait to try that.
But maybe, like, hopefully now everybody can go try it out, and like as that's coming to you, instead of getting out of the way, just work on the timing to melee it and watch it go back, and she'll just like stagger.
That's so cool. I don't think I've ever seen anybody do that so far.
Yeah.
So how do you wrestle with that as a game designer? You put in a mechanic you thought was so clever, we're excited people get, and then they just don't even do it.
I just cry for at least 3 days, and then I tell myself to get over it, and then it's like, all right. Yeah, it's just fun trying things, and it's a little bit of a bummer that people didn't pick up on it, but it wasn't intended to be a mechanic people had to find, but it's one of those secret mechanics. And for the Rampager, one of our great creature designers, Ruben, and there's a bunch of people, a lot of people contribute to how bosses come out. It's never just one person.
Of course.
But the Rampager has 3 different forms. And so if you remember the old arcade game Rampage, you'll notice that the 3 main avatars of Rampage are the inspiration for the shapes. You have the ape shape, you have the beast shape, and you have the dragon, the lizard shape, right?
Wow.
So it's literally the Easter egg is in the name Rampager.
Dang, it was staring us in the face.
I feel so stupid.
Right?
Wow.
We all did.
I can't believe it. Yeah, I've never put it together.
There was actually a time I love our writers, and it's like, oh, we're gonna rename this because this is such a temp designer name. And then I'm like, but wait, it's not. Please keep the Rampager.
Here's the lore behind it and what we're trying to achieve. Wow. You just blew my mind. Twice in back to back. How many other things are there in Borderlands 3 that people just don't pay any attention to? They run for the shiny gold epic and get out.
Yeah, who knows? I know those are the first 2 things that come to mind for me for bosses, though.
Wow.
For sure.
Pretty neat.
And so then how do you go from being a boss designer to be somebody who's directing, this DLC?
You know what? Gearbox does a wonderful job working with people and helping them take their next steps in their career. I've had an amazing time working at the company. So this opportunity just arose, and it sounded like a really awesome opportunity to figure out how to be a creative director on a DLC. And I had some ideas, and we have a lot of great people that have their ideas, and trying to corral all of that, which is great. Well, Western way. Oh,
there you go.
Western
You got it on the brain. You got it on the brain.
I'm a dad. I have fun now. They're never good. None of my jokes are good. But no, it just sounded like a great opportunity, and so I went for it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I now seeing some of that, because I've talked to a few folks now at the team who have moved around, and I love actually that creative expression seems to be coming through in these DLCs. They are truly each kind of different in their own way, and also like the music we touched on. I really love the variety, actually, because I know from the top level, you want to be very careful about consistency and brand, but actually you guys really, it feels like you take some of the stuff to the limit and let people kind of just dream, and I'm seeing it come through. So
I appreciate hearing that, because it is an honor to work with such a talented team, for sure.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for spending the time coming to the Borderlands show.
You're very welcome. I thank you so much for having me.
Now, before you go, you get the privilege of revealing the shift code. All right. So every episode we have a shift code. It pops up on screen. Usually I have people do like this on the desk, but we don't have a desk. So I don't know how you want to use your postage stamp of size to reveal this shift code. What's happening?
I don't know what to do with my hands. Maybe I can reveal a shift code and it's here.
There you go. I made you a sound effect too. That's what I did. You did great, Matt. No, don't worry. No, you crushed it. Don't worry. Exactly. That's what we are all about here on the Borderlands show, ladies and gentlemen. Matt, thank you so much. Remember, of course, your DLC is coming out when again?
June 25th.
June
Bounty
25th.
of Blood, A Fistful of Redemption. No longer DLC 3.
I can't. Yeah, exactly. DLC 3 is dead. But ladies and gentlemen, what isn't dead, Greg Way, is Ask a Psycho.
Ask a Psycho.
Mary from Montreal writes, Psycho! That Psycho in the DLC 4 key art looks rad and nothing like you. Are you offended that you are the face of mayhem? And after 7 episodes of the Borderlands show, they overlooked you, tossed you aside, and cast a younger, hotter, whole life in front of them, Psycho?
No, che cazzo l'hanno offeso? No. No, ma che cazzo? No.
No, Mary, it makes perfect sense to me. It's fine. Don't worry. I'll be okay. Oh, God.
Ask a Psycho.
Thanks for watching the Borderlands show, everybody. Fran and I will be back sometime in the summer with details about DLC 4 and all that kind of stuff. You know how it goes, Fran. Maybe, when are we going to be back? We're like Santa. You never know.
Keep your eye on Borderlands.com.
Well, and you didn't acknowledge the Santa joke. I sound like an idiot. If you subscribe to the Borderlands feed, you can get them all there. You'll be all about it. Fran, you'll just get every Borderlands show ever. Doesn't that sound nice?
We'll see you everywhere all the time and later this summer.
And hey, do you like that Fran Zane statue back there? Do you like my Borderlands shirt? You can get it all at store.2k.com. But enough about that. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, Vault Hunters, like,
follow,
and obey.
Ma avete visto? È stato annunciato una nuova cosa in DLC. Ora, secondo un'intervista hanno detto che la PlayStation 5 sarà 100 volte più veloce di PlayStation 4. Chissà se sarà veramente così oppure no. Io fino a quando non vedo non vedo le cose dal vivo, non mi fido. Per esempio, anche di Assassin's Creed Valhalla hanno detto tanta roba, tipo per esempio che la mappa prima era piccola, poi era grande, poi adesso è enorme, chi lo sa. Cioè, da ogni parte hanno detto che la mappa prima era piccola, poi era grande, poi era enorme e tutto il resto. Mo chissà se è veramente così oppure no. Io fino a quando non vedo un gameplay o non vedo qualcosa di reale non mi fido praticamente di nessuna notizia. Non perché non siano accertate, ma perché alcuni prendono e fanno notizie fake e dicono di sapere le cose invece non lo sanno e lo dicono così solo per fare notizia. Allora, poi parliamo un attimo di Bayonetta 3. Ora, hanno detto che il gioco potrebbe essere stato cancellato, ma per il momento ancora niente, non si sa ancora al certo. Non è stato cancellato, ma ancora nessuno sta vedendo le cose chiaramente, in che senso che prima di dire che il gioco è pronto o altro ne vogliono essere per certi, perché adesso non stanno ancora lavorando e tutto il resto. Ieri l'impero colpisce ancora fatto 40 anni. E su Screen Week hanno rilasciato 40 curiosità su il film. Basta così.